Noam, thanks for joining me here on the floor of TCT
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. A pleasure.
Yeah.
In a new capacity.
I know, well, you beat me to it, Mike. You were part of creating, I'd say it, you don't have to say it, history with Abiomed. I mean, we were just talking about Impella
Yeah.
before the camera started rolling, and
Yeah.
you had a critical role there, and now you're CEO of AQUAPASS.
Yes, yes.
And so now as a CEO, and we'll go into all these things, it's a little bit of a different role.
Yeah. It is, it is. I say in medicine, what's the difference between the best intern and the worst resident? It's one day. So I did a lot of stuff in Abiomed. I was fortunate to be part of that journey. But this is my first CEO role. So I don't take it lightly. I'm not good at it yet. I'm learning.
Well, there's that old adage of we all must play the fool before we're the master.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but you and I have worked closely together over the years, and
Yeah.
you had many choices coming out of Abiomed. You had great accomplishments there. Obviously,
Yeah.
evidence speaks for itself, and then you decided, I think it's time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as you went through that evaluation process, what was it about AQUAPASS, out of all those options that you had, that spoke to you?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things, but it always starts with patients. Now, we used to say that in Abiomed, and now it's on my signature in AQUAPASS. It's patient first. What is it that I can do that will make a difference to patients? So AQUAPASS very quickly just rose to the top of the line because it's disruptive. It can become the new standard of care for patients in heart failure and for decongestion therapy, for a patient that suffers from fluid overload. I mean, they're drowning. And we've been on this journey for years to try to find devices and drugs that make a huge difference. There's a lot of small things that make a difference, but not something that is a game changer. And AQUAPASS is that. If we do things right, if we develop the product right, the evidence right, that's going to become the new standard of care.
And what's interesting about this is when we look across the landscape in heart failure, on the therapeutic side of heart failure, most of those procedures are invasive.
Yeah.
This is not.
Yeah. So there's two sides to this. When you talk about invasive, there's an aspect of the patient, which is definitely number one. It's important. AQUAPASS is not invasive. We have the largest organ also secrete fluid. So can we hack it without getting into the body?
Meaning the skin.
The skin. It's on my talk. Spoiler.
This will
I have
come
a
out
talk
couple weeks
tomorrow. It
after.
will come after. So on my talk, they used to say there's a patient around the heart. In every TCT, someone makes that comment. So I'm introducing the skin. I'm saying patients have skin. But practically the skin moves fluid. There's only two organs in the body that takes fluid from one compartment and put it to a different one. One is the kidney, and the other one is the skin. The kidney does it from the intravascular space outside through the bladder, and the skin does it from the extravascular space, the interstitial, to the outside world. The extravascular space, that's where the problem is. They all have heart failure, they all have end-stage kidney disease, but that's where the fluid is accumulating. So patient benefit is number one, effective and safe. The other part is it's related to the disruptive aspect here, which is it takes away a barrier. Because when you say invasive, you need a tool set, you need a skill set, you need a person, you need a setup, cath lab, OR, to put the patient through it. It's resources, it's money, it's expertise, it's time. So when you say non-invasive, it cuts away costs and it cuts away risk, and it makes it easier and more accessible for patients.
So for those that might not be familiar, what the form factor of what this AQUAPASS platform is, how would you best explain it?
I would best explain it is, it's a robe. So in the future, it's going to be so gorgeous that every patient would want to wear it, whether it's turned on or not. It's going to be custom made. You wanted blue, you wanted red, you wanted Nike, you wanted Under Armour. No, don't mean to be too much about branding here. But it will be something very comfortable. It is comfortable. It has two layers, so if I can use my suit here to explain that. Two layers, there's warm air that comes into between the layers, and then on the inside, it flows onto your skin. What we're doing is we're hacking the system. The skin is set up to excrete fluids in response to heat. It's a thermal regulation system. What we're doing, we're tricking the skin to think as if there's a warm environment, activate the sweat glands. We're doing this across mostly the torso, the hip, the upper lower limbs. And that's enough space, that's enough gland to produce a substantial amount of fluid. And then what we do is we flow the air on this entire section through the suit to evaporate. What the evaporation does is cooling the skin down, and that helps keep the patient comfortable. Like, patients in heart failure, they cannot tolerate excessive heat. So when you think about a device like that, it has to maintain the core temperature, but at the same time to elevate the skin temperature enough so it will produce sweat. And then on top of that, you have to remove the sweat to make the patient feel comfortable. So this is what our suit or robe is doing. It's warm. The robe is moving warm air on our body, and then elevating the temperature, generating sweat, and then clearing it through evaporation.
This technology came out of where?
This technology came out of the brain of Yaakov Nitzan. Yaakov Nitzan is he has his footprint even here. Yeah. He's got his legacy is here. He was one of the key inventors of V-Wave, which interestingly came under Abiomed just before I left to serve one of his other inventions. Yaakov was also the founder of Whiteswell, which for me in my capacity in Abiomed made one of the first investment into. And then he founded AQUAPASS. Full disclosure, I was one of those who told Yaakov it will never work. And here I am. You talk about accountability, right? We talk about accountability. So I admit, I flipped. So he came to that conclusion, which now seemed very trivial to me, and soon enough to a lot more people, that we have to find a different way of getting the fluids outside the patient. The patients are drowning. Think about an aquarium. We're trying to meddle with the two faucets, the two kidneys, two faucets on this aquarium. They don't work. We're moving things within the aquarium. We're moving things, in the venous side, the arterial side. Even Whiteswell is moving into the intravascular space from the extravascular space, but then you have to go to the kidneys again. So he said, how do I get it out without the kidneys? The skin. And then how do I get it to the skin while keeping the patient comfortable, making it effective through all that? So I have one of those slides that shows initially it was the Michelin Man. It was like a suit that you can roll on snow with.
Right.
And then it became something a bit more condensed. But then through experiments, I admire his discipline and his persistence to ignore the noise and say, no, it makes sense physiologically. Functionally, physiologically, it makes sense. So it's about how I make it work. And he went through several form factors to the one that we are now, which is probably the closest to the final product or the future product that we'll have commercially, which is also easy to put on.
So what's ahead over the next 24 months for AQUAPASS? Without being too precise, but just generally in that 24-month period.
One thing, I was at Abiomed, we were going quarter to quarter, but we had a 3-year plan. I went to J&J, I managed the integration in J&J. Joaquin came and said, give me a 10-year plan. I said, what is that? Now you're telling me 24 months? I'm thinking about next month. But we have plans to commercialize this within the early part of 2027. So commercial plan, reimbursement plan, clinical evidence generation plan. So these are big swings that you can't plan and you can't execute in the last minute. You have to start now. But one thing that a startup environment really teaches you very quickly is that you have to have both ends, and it's really both ends of the stick here. You have to have the plan because you need to know where you're going, but you have to worry about tomorrow. You have to worry about today, what decision you're making today. And today, it's hyper-focused on executing on our clearance study, which we're halfway through. This week, we're enrolling the patient number 20. And then the FDA submission. How are we going to submit, all the testing required? So these are the immediate two things for us in AQUAPASS.
I know when you took the CEO post, one of the things that you and I chatted about very, very seriously and deeply was your selection process for bringing talent onto AQUAPASS, making sure that AQUAPASS is good for them and then that they're good for AQUAPASS. So you're going to be building clinical teams, go-to-market teams, quality teams, et cetera. And for those out there that would look forward to following you into war, what is it that you look for and what should people listen to if they want to lean to AQUAPASS?
My philosophy, which was also, I'm part of an ecosystem that was developed in Abiomed. There's a whole philosophy of hiring that we developed there and then executed on, is the first order is that, do you want to be part of this journey? Forget about the job. It can be VP, director, manager, clinical, quality. This is question number 2. The first question, do you want to be part of our journey? Because your day will change on your second day on the job, because suddenly something will change. FDA will knock on the door, new clinical data coming out. In Abiomed, it was something with the street. Something will happen. And that's what keeps the people together. Commitment to the mission first, to being part of this. So that's number 1. Number 2 is everything else. Obviously, it's the usual list of skill set, experiences, pattern recognition, and all that. What I'm specifically looking for, and that's also in the process of interviewing and getting to know the person, is the grit. I'm old school in that. It's hard. I need people that are willing to work hard, committed, accountable, not afraid of making mistakes, but then owning the mistakes and not doing them again. Problem solver, self-initiation, that's a big one. So it's a combination of things. And once you do that, it's hard. It's hard to find great people. It's also hard to find great fit. There's great people that maybe not be the right person for me. So it's a combination of the right people, but the good fit. But it's one of the greatest joys that once you find the person, and then you find the next person, and suddenly there's an ecosystem of excellence and a group that works together, and then suddenly all the things and the difficulties and the hardship day to day becomes it's like a ballet dance. Suddenly it starts flowing. So I know how it looks like.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Well, we're working on it.
But I'm working on this every day.
And I'll attest to that because you and I are working closely on building AQUAPASS, and I thoroughly enjoy working with a leader like that because they know what they will want, not settle on anything, and then the outcome becomes pretty profound, as you know.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something in a comment you said before, and before the cameras started rolling. It'll never work, and that's really hard.
Yeah.
And it seems like you're running towards both of those.
I have a mentor that says, when you have a problem, you go to the problem. You don't go away, you don't turn your back on that. So the first problem here is congestion, is fluid overload. It's an epidemic. It's pervasive across heart failure. It's the common pathways of patients in heart failure and end-stage kidney disease. Is it a problem worth solving? Is it a problem worth me to put the next chapter of my life into? So the answer is yes. And then I find, what's the best thing? I can go for a me too. I can go for the convention. It's just not me. So I feel that AQUAPASS was the out of the box, the thing that is no one else thought about, but at the same time very trivial. Just like a heart pump. You take the blood from the heart to the rest of the body. It makes a lot of sense now. 2013, 2012, people said it will never work. So I'm looking for the same journey. Now, there are challenges. I may be wrong. I don't think so, but that's part of the journey.
Well, you got the right minds, the right support, working on it, and we're fundraising as well. We
Yes,
might as well
of course.
point that out, right? So what does that look like?
So I'm fortunate to have a very, very strong board of family-owned funds. So that means I'm a little less sensitive to the timing of the traditional VCs. At the same time, we do need to step up. We need to step up to bring some fresh thinking also to the board. Add to the existing board. It's definitely not any other changes, but add to the existing board around the table. And we do have a step up because clinical trials cost money. Hiring people, setting up quality system, distribution system, supply chain, that involves capital. I will say that versus the effect that we can provide to patient, the amount of capital is a fraction of anything else. We talked about invasive, so even without talking about the clinical effect, anything invasive means sterile, shelf life, bench testing, animal testing, sterilization, validation. There's a whole package of things that needs money that I don't need. So the opportunity here, or put it differently, the investment versus the opportunity is also disruptive. I'm raising a few tens of millions, and I'm open to, traditional VCs will be great because they bring the experience. They also bring the rigor and the discipline of knowing the industry and execution. I'm hoping to have some of the health networks. I think that's a great place that you have a foothold in the clinical domain, in the healthcare system domain, and I think there's a good incentive now with the healthcare and everything that's going on in the US healthcare for them to be part of this because it gives their patients potentially a early access, and my existing board. So they'll participate as long as they need it.
Well, congratulations on AQUAPASS and the new role. I'm
Okay.
excited for you. And I'll look for the presentation tomorrow here at TCT.
7:51 in the morning.
7:51?
7:50 on. About
Which
8
room?
minutes. Exhibition, the
E, probably.
E at the Innovation Hall.
I'll be there.
Okay,
Thanks,
wonderful. Joe, thank you so much.
You got it.
Okay.
I'm Joe Mullings from the floor at TCT 2025, San Francisco. Be well.